Hello, this is my first video of my new series called Persona, and this is the series in which I describe what I see in different K-pop idols as a healer and also express what I would say to them as a healer and what I would recommend to them as a healer. I decided to make this series to give deeper insight into the personalities of our favorite K-pop idols, but at the same time I would like to make it as my way of validating and also giving advice to the people who have similar traits as certain K-pop idols. Today's video is about TXT Beomgyu, who is one of my favorite K-pop idols, I would say, at least one of the most relatable ones for me. And also when I'm making this video, it is still his birthday, in my country at least, in my time zone, so this is also a tribute to Beomgyu for his birthday. There are a lot of things that I could say about Beomgyu, including his ability to be very entertaining and very bright and very cute and considerate and very loving and caring, all of that at the same time. But the particular thing that I would like to describe in this video, which I consider to be valuable for our reflection on the personalities of other people and also the personalities of ourselves, is his sensitivity. I want you to understand that the sensitivity of a person is something that we are born with. So it's not something that we choose. It's not something that we can change. It is something that we are born with. It's the quality of the nervous system. And also it has a certain reflection in the astrological placements with which a person is born. For example, Beomgyu and I have one of the most probably sensitive combinations, which is Pisces Sun, Scorpio Moon. Because Pisces Sun gives this ability to perceive a lot of things and the ability to perceive things very deeply, to see things very deeply, to contain a lot of everything in our consciousness. And Scorpio Moon is given this quality of very raw, very sensitive and vulnerable nervous system. And together this combination creates a very, very intense experience of life. So you can see it, you can notice this sensitivity in Beomgyu when he perceives very vulnerably and very deeply certain situations which are connected with his idol life. You probably have seen this live in which he started to cry because Subin was on a break, and it's generally like you can see it, you can feel it in him that he is very vulnerable and he is very sensitive. And also there was a very cool video which I don't know, I loved it so much. When he was at some show, I will put a screenshot of it somewhere here, and the presenters of the show called his father, or he called his father, and the presenters asked his father about what is his biggest strength and what is his biggest weakness. And he said that his biggest strength is that he is full of love, and his biggest weakness is the same thing, that he is full of love. So I think that is something, but something similar to what I am talking about. This sensitivity and sensuality and this romanticity, it all comes from this same feature of being able to be vulnerable. I would suggest that being a K-pop idol with such a quality is pretty difficult, because there are certain things that are expected from you, there are certain milestones that you are supposed to be following, there are certain things that you are supposed to be achieving all the time, like over and over and over again. And he is supposed to be doing it all at the same time as he is going through this experience, but being very overwhelmed by it, I would suggest. Of course, he's getting used to it. Of course, he's training this, and of course, he probably receives some help and support. But generally, I want you to understand that sensitive people, and if you are a sensitive person, I want you to understand that for sensitive people, it is much, much, much more difficult to go through the same experiences as other people can go through without any particular difficulties at all. So I think that sensitive people like Beomgyu and like me need to stick to a certain, well, not rules, but maybe I would give certain recommendations to make the experience of this life easier and more enjoyable. So what I would say to Beomgyu as a healer, I would say never perceive your sensitivity as weakness, because sensitivity is the biggest strength that is in this world. And I'm saying this because I remember that I watched the video at the end of the previous year, I think, when at TXT were making certain resolutions or plans for the next year, and Beomgyu said that he would like to be less influenced by the external things, by the external influences. And I would say that for the people who are sensitive, it is almost impossible to not feel everything very intensely. But it's not a bad thing, in fact. It is actually something very cool, because we are all here to experience this life, and we experience it through our senses. And the stronger our senses are, the richer is the experience of this life for us. And I would say that it's like, it causes a lot of problems, because sometimes it's overwhelming, sometimes it's very intense, sometimes it doesn't allow us to do certain things, sometimes we spend too much energy on processing certain experiences instead of like being able to do something like other people are able to do something all the time. But at the same time, it gives us this richness of experience, and it gives us this ability to process the energies, and this ability to be more conscious of what we feel, or what is happening to us, or what is happening inside of us, or what is happening in the world, and what is happening with other people. For me personally, sensitivity is actually my most important tool, because through my sensitivity I can connect with people and I can help them heal, because healing is my thing, something that I do with people. So yeah, of course it may be considered a weakness because it makes us more vulnerable, but on the other hand, it makes the life much more full of everything cool and of everything interesting and of everything beautiful, whether it's something pleasant or something unpleasant. The second thing that I would say to Beomgyu as a healer is to pay more attention not to blocking external influences, but rather to clearing yourself from external influences. What I mean is that when the nervous system is sensitive, we will be perceiving a lot of shit from other people, the states of other people, the states of communities, like everything, all of these things. And if we try to block it, we will also block everything cool that we are perceiving from this world, which I tried to do and I didn't enjoy because it takes away the taste, like the fragrance, the brightness of life when you're trying to block yourself from perceiving something external. So what I am trying to do instead, I'm trying to make sure that the things, like the energies that get into my system, do not stay in my system and do not get stuck in my system. And for that, I need to be very aware of what is going on inside of me through reflection and through constant like checking in. How do I feel? But why do I feel this way? Is that my emotion, or is it someone else's emotion? And it's someone else's emotions, do I want to feel it or do I not? And if I don't want to feel it, then I can just let go of it. So it's all the conscious process which needs to be happening if you are a sensitive person. Also, it is a very good thing to create certain cleansing rituals, for example. For example, me, when I go to the shower in the evening, I'm not just, washing my body. I'm also imagining and visualizing that I am washing all of the energies from me, from my system, and from my body. It is very good to do certain breath work because there are breathing exercises which are very good for cleansing the energy. It is very good to do meditations because meditation, like a very good deep meditation, is the best way to clean the mind and the emotions and the body, the energy from all of the external influences. So what I'm trying to say is that for people who are sensitive, for people who have sensitive nervous system, it is almost impossible to be able to not allow external influences. But what we can do is make sure that we clean ourselves from these external influences. And that's something that I would recommend to everybody who is sensitive, and that's something that I really recommend to myself. One more thing that every sensitive person, in my opinion, should be doing, and something that I am doing as well, is strengthening the core of our body and of our system. And the core, I mean quite physically, the abdominal muscles, because this is something that is known to hold our body physically, like it's something that balances us out the most. And also it is known to be balancing out our system mentally and energetically, because it is associated with the third chakra, with the solar plexus chakra, which is responsible for our general energetic state. So I know that Beomgyu started to work out, and like we have all seen this. I'm trying not to comment on this, but I'm very happy that he is doing it, because it is a very smart way of balancing yourself out and of being able to handle more experiences. Because, as I have already said, it's almost impossible to block yourself from external experiences, from external influences, but it is much easier to go through them, and it is much easier to perceive them when you have a strong core, both energetically and mentally and physically. Also, there are certain practices which can be very balancing for the nervous system, and it's also breath work, but different one, not the cleansing one, but the balancing one. For example, a very famous one is square breathing. When you inhale, for example, for 5 seconds, hold your breath for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds, and hold the breath on the exhale for 5 seconds as well. It is really, really balancing, like one of the most balancing breath works, and it is really strengthening for the nervous system if you do it daily. So this one is very good. This one is very good. And also meditation, again, it is very, very balancing for nervous system, because it switches this state of the nervous system from the like nervous stress activation to the calming activation. I'm not gonna say all of these smart words here, but it is also working in favor of the balancing of the nervous system. So it is very important to do such things. And one more thing that I would say to Beomgyu as a healer, and I would also say to all the sensitive people in the world, and I would say it to myself again and again, because I do not stick to this recommendation of mine, frankly speaking, and it is the recommendation to never compare yourself to others. Because people like us, like sensitive people, we spend more energy on processing certain experiences than other people. And we need much more energy for reflecting, for perceiving, for balancing ourselves, for finding this equilibrium, for doing something from the heart, because otherwise we cannot do it. Like, but the more sensitive the person is, the more authentic this person needs to be, because we sensitive people are very sensitive to lack of authenticity, and we cannot do a lot of things as quickly and as effectively as some other people can do it. For example, one more thing that I would say to Beomgyu, to never compare himself to Yeonjun, for example, because Yeonjun, he is, it's easy for him to express himself. It's easy for him to pursue something. It's it's like his natural thing. He is an actor, like the one who acts, I mean. While Beomgyu is a perceptor, the one who perceives. And of course, like all of us, we all act and we all perceive. But there is something that we feel naturally inclined to. And Yunjun is naturally inclined to acting, while Beomgyu is naturally inclined to perceiving. And that's why, for example, Beomgyu should never compare himself to like Yeonjun or Taehyun, and I shouldn't compare myself to other people for whom it is natural to act. Because because I would need to spend much more energy on processing certain experiences, just like Beomgyu. But on the other hand, both I and Beomgyu would receive much more from these experiences, much more observations, much more wisdom, much more knowledge, much more impression, much more understanding of what I am and what the world is. So this is a very important thing. And it's a very important thing to rethink efficiency, because the world as it is now, it is always trying to measure us and measure our efficiency, like how many something we did, how much of something we did, how like to describe us in some numbers. And it is very unfair to us, the sensitive people, because we are not in the same situation as others. We are not in the same condition as others. And that's why it is very important for us to rethink efficiency and to consider that for me personally, I decided to not measure my success through anything external for some time. I was only measuring my success as the stability of my nervous system and my internal feeling, like how I feel about myself. And it was a very important thing for me. And even though now I have some external things to evaluate myself, for example, I'm trying to make this blog, and for me it is important to make certain number of videos per week and do certain activities connected to this. But at the same time, I always try to rely more on how I feel and what I really want to express. So yes, this is one more important thing that I would say to Beomgyu as a healer, and of course to all of the people who feel that this topic resonates with them. At the end, I want to say that it is very important to acknowledge that people are very, very, very different. And we cannot measure ourselves and measure each other with the same criteria, because it doesn't make sense. Because if we try to apply certain criteria to a group of people, we will always be restricting someone. We will always be de-evaluating someone. We will always be devalidating someone. Because no external criteria, no measurements can measure the difference between us, because the difference between us is energetic, not physical. So what I'm trying to say is that the world is really beautiful in this diversity, and whenever we try to put everyone in the same bucket, to pretend that we all should be the same, pretend that we all should stick to the same standards and that we should all reply to the same criteria, then we take away all of our strength and all of the beauty of this world, which is in diversity. So this is something that I would like to say out loud, and to say that I do not agree to any measurements, and I do not agree and I do not stick to any criteria. And I want all of us to feel free from measuring and comparing and evaluating ourselves through thinking that there is something wrong with us. If we are slower, if they are more sensitive, if we are more vulnerable. We are definitely not. And the very last thing that I want to say is that I want to say happy birthday to Beomgyu again. And I want to wish him to be this beautiful bright star that he is. With all of his sensitivity. This is maybe the 20th time that I say this word in this video. With all of his brightness and all of this light and all of his love and all of his compassion and all of his empathy and all of his artisticity. Is that a word? I hope so. And with all of his talent and with all of his vulnerability. And I love Beomgyu so much. There's nothing I can do to this. So yeah, happy birthday, Beomgyu. And thank you so much for watching. And I hope this video was useful for you. And I hope it helped you accept yourself a little bit more. Or maybe understand someone who is more sensitive than you are. Yeah, this is the things that we need to go through as sensitive people. So now you know about it a little bit more. So thank you so much for watching, and see you next time with some new topics. And if you would like me to do videos about particular topics, you can put it in the comments and I will see what I can do about that.